Have you ever wondered why some fears grow stronger with age? What if the greatest worries in life aren't the ones we talk about, but the ones we silently carry? And could it be that after 80, the quietest moments reveal the deepest fears of all? Have you noticed how, after turning 80, your thoughts seem to soften, but your fears grow louder? These aren't the loud, overwhelming fears you cry out about. They're the quiet, creeping kinds, the ones that drift in when you're sitting alone, the television is turned off, and the house feels far too silent. At first, you brush them aside, telling yourself, "I'm just overthinking this." But then, those same unsettling questions return, whispering in the back of your mind. You start to wonder, what if I can't handle what's ahead? This video is dedicated to those of us who are already in our 80s or approaching them. We've worked hard, lived long, and earned the right to peace, yet we often find ourselves worrying more than ever. These fears aren't just random. They're signs of deep reflection, of a desire to protect the limited time and dignity we still have. Here's something no one warned us about when we were younger. After 80, fear doesn't always arrive as panic. Sometimes it shows up quietly, hidden behind silence. You might not speak your fears out loud, but they slowly start to shape your daily life. And if you're not careful, they can subtly shrink your world. In this video, we're going to explore the 5 biggest fears seniors face after 80, the ones that tend to appear the most during this stage of life. More importantly, we'll talk about how to recognize these fears for what they really are. Not just problems, but hidden messages, quietly calling for change. Whether you're already living in your 80s or approaching this stage of life, this message is meant for you. Let's begin with the first, and perhaps most haunting fear. The fear of becoming a burden. It often starts as a small, aching thought. What if I become a burden to the people I love? This fear doesn't appear all at once. In the beginning, it starts with a slight hesitation before asking for help with something small. Maybe carrying a heavy grocery bag, driving to a doctor's appointment, or reaching for something high on a shelf. But gradually, those tiny moments of hesitation grow into quiet silence. You stop asking. You tell yourself, "I'll just handle it on my own." You downplay the discomfort, even when it lingers. And in the background, the fear continues to grow louder. You wonder, if I lean on them too much, will they pull away? This fear isn't only about needing help physically, it runs deeper. It's about the emotional weight we worry we might place on others. Many older adults fear that by sharing their struggles, they'll dampen the mood or add stress to loved ones who are already juggling too much. So they smile and say, "I'm fine," even when they're not. On the surface, it might seem like a noble way to handle things, but in reality, it slowly steals away opportunities for connection, for honesty, and for true care. Psychologically, this fear of becoming a burden is often tied to a deep sense of losing personal value. After spending decades giving, raising children, working tirelessly, solving everyday problems, it can feel awkward, even embarrassing, to now be on the receiving end. You may find yourself quietly measuring your worth by how little you ask for, rather than by how much love you give and receive. But real relationships aren't built on ease. People don't love you because you're low maintenance. They love you simply because you are you. I once spoke with a man named Harold, who was 84. He told me he had stopped mentioning his falls to his daughter. "She worries too much," he explained. "I don't want to be a bother." But over time, that silence built a wall between them. She assumed he was doing well, so she didn't visit as often. He believed she was too busy, so he stayed quiet. And little by little, their bond began to fade. Not because of an argument, but because of a quiet, shared fear left unspoken. Here's the heartbreaking irony. In trying so hard not to burden others, many older adults end up carrying too much themselves. They take on more than they should. They isolate more than they need to. And they miss out on the deeper, richer relationships that only blossom when we allow ourselves to be honest, even in moments of weakness. If this fear has quietly settled in your heart, I want to say something to you as clearly as possible. Your existence is never a burden. Your stories, your presence, your vulnerability, they matter deeply. You are not a problem to solve. You are a person to love. Fear number 2 is the fear of being forgotten. This fear doesn't always arrive with loud alarms. Most of the time, it quietly whispers during the still moments, those pauses after the phone doesn't ring, or when holidays pass and no one asks about your plans. It slowly creeps in with a haunting question. Will they forget me? Am I already slipping away from their lives? For many seniors over 80, this fear isn't rooted in pride. It grows out of love. You've spent decades building a life, raising a family, and nurturing friendships. You've remembered every birthday, every anniversary, every favorite meal. So when those you care about most begin to forget, even in small ways, it's not just a missed phone call. It feels like a tiny piece of you has been quietly erased. This fear strikes at the heart of your identity. After retirement and after your children grow up, your roles start to shift. You move from being mom or dad to grandma or grandpa, from being the one who made everything happen to the one who's told, "We'll call you later." And if these changes aren't acknowledged or talked about, it can feel like you're slowly fading into the background. Some people try to push back against this by overcompensating. They send messages, call frequently, offer to babysit, or find excuses to drop by. Anything just to feel involved and remembered. Others do the opposite. They pull back, convincing themselves they'll see everyone when the time is right. But deep down, every week that passes in silence starts to weigh more heavily than the last. I once met a woman named Joyce, who was 82. She told me that, for the first time in 50 years, she didn't decorate for Christmas. "No one's coming," she said with a soft smile. "I'll just leave the lights off this year." But behind her quiet words was a heart still waiting, hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone would show up and prove her wrong. This fear isn't selfish, it's simply human. Everyone wants to feel they matter. And at 80 or 85, you absolutely still matter. The wisdom you've gained, the love you've shared, and the life lessons you've learned, these don't have an expiration date. Yet, the world doesn't always show that back to you, and that's where the pain begins. The best way to ease this fear isn't just to wait for love to arrive, it's to remain open to it. Speak honestly about what you're feeling, invite others in, share what you miss without hesitation or shame. Gently remind your loved ones, not to make them feel guilty, but to speak your truth, that your story isn't over yet. There are still so many parts of you left to discover. If you're still watching and finding these reflections meaningful, please take a moment to comment number 2 below. It lets me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future videos. Your support truly helps. We'll keep creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. The third fear is the fear of losing control. After 80, one of the most unsettling experiences isn't necessarily physical pain or even loneliness. It's something more subtle and harder to name. The slow, creeping realization that you're no longer fully in charge of your own life. You may not always speak this fear aloud, but deep down, many older adults feel it. It begins with decisions being made for you rather than with you. At first, it's subtle. Your children suggest switching to a different doctor. Your caregiver rearranges your kitchen, trying to make things easier. The pharmacist begins speaking more to your daughter than to you. Little by little, your sense of independence starts slipping away. It's rarely done with bad intentions. Often it comes from a place of protection. But the result is the same. Here's something few people like to admit. Losing control doesn't feel safe. It feels humiliating. It can seem as though you're being quietly erased from the story of your own life. Once you sense this happening, it becomes harder to trust, your confidence begins to shake, and your dignity takes a direct hit. I once spoke with Harold again, the same 84-year-old man. He shared a story that stayed with me. He said, "My grandson drives me to the bank now. He's a good kid, but last time, he asked the teller to explain my account to him. I sat there, feeling like a child sitting in the principal's office." That moment stuck with him, not because of the money, but because of what it symbolized. What many people don't see is that control isn't always about the big things. It often lies in the small, everyday choices: what to eat, what to wear, when to go to bed, where to sit. Losing those small freedoms can feel like death by 1,000 cuts. You may still be breathing, but it feels like someone else is steering your life now. This fear often hides behind polite silence. Many older adults were raised to be respectful, to go along, and not cause trouble. But inside, there's often a quiet grief, a deep desire to say, "Let me decide. Let me live my way." So, what can you do? First, speak up, gently but firmly. Reclaim your voice and say, "I appreciate the help, but I'd like to make this decision myself." Second, choose something every single day, no matter how small. That's entirely your choice. It could be your breakfast, your clothes, your daily routine, or even where you sit to read. Those small wins slowly rebuild your inner sense of control. Remember, you've spent decades making decisions, raising families, running businesses, surviving tough times. That wisdom, that strength, doesn't simply vanish with age. By the time you reach 80, this fear becomes sharper, more defined. You've earned every right to guide your life, right up until your very last breath. Feeling this fear doesn't mean you're being stubborn. It simply means you're human. Standing up for your right to make your own choices isn't selfish. It's absolutely necessary. Because living without control isn't true peace. It's quiet surrender. And you were meant for so much more than that. Now we arrive at the fourth fear, the fear of being forgotten. For many people over 80, it's not the fear of illness or even death that weighs the heaviest. It's something far more silent, the fear of slowly fading away while still alive. It's that deep ache that softly asks, "Does anyone remember who I really am?" You might have been the one who kept your family together, the person who remembered every birthday, cooked every meal, gave heartfelt advice, or simply showed up when others didn't. But now, perhaps the phone rings less often, the holidays pass with little fanfare, old friends are no longer around. And your children? They're busy living the very lives you once helped them build. This fear isn't about seeking praise or craving attention. It's about something much deeper: connection. People don't just want to exist. They want to feel that they still matter. And after 80, when daily routines become smaller and social circles shrink, it becomes harder and harder to feel truly seen. Eleanor, who was 82, once shared something with me that struck deeply. She said, "My family loves me, I know that. But I feel like a photograph on a shelf, still here, but no one really looks anymore." That one sentence stayed with me, because it's not just about being remembered during holidays or special events. It's about being remembered for who you are, your full, vibrant self. And the pain of feeling forgotten doesn't just affect your emotions, it reaches into your physical health too. Studies show that social isolation increases the risk of cognitive decline, heart disease, and even early death. The body listens carefully when the spirit feels invisible. But here's something that often goes unnoticed. You don't have to wait for others to remember you. You have the power to remind them and yourself of exactly who you are. Share your stories. Bring out old photos, cherished recipes, and treasured memories. Speak your name and your history aloud, not as a desperate plea, but as a quiet, steady reminder of your presence. Reach out, not just to family, but also to neighbors, church communities, book clubs, or anyone around you. You might be surprised to discover just how many others are also sitting silently, waiting and hoping that someone will remember them too. And when you take that step, when you speak up and share yourself with others, something beautiful happens. You don't just prevent yourself from being forgotten, you help others feel seen and remembered as well. It becomes a circle of connection, where everyone feels just a little more alive, simply because someone cared enough to reach out. If you're still watching this video and finding these reflections meaningful, please take a moment to comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Your support truly allows us to continue creating meaningful content to both inform and inspire you. Now, we move forward to the fifth fear, the fear of losing dignity. One of the most difficult experiences many face in their 80s is the gradual loss of independence. And along with it comes something far more painful, the slow, quiet erosion of dignity. It's not always marked by dramatic events. Sometimes, it's as simple as needing help to button a shirt or having someone gently remind you of something you once remembered without a second thought. Yet, these small, seemingly harmless moments can slowly chip away at your confidence. They leave behind feelings of frustration, quiet shame, and often silence. Dignity isn't just about pride, it's about having a say in your life, choosing how you live, how others see you, and how you're cared for. And when that sense of control starts slipping away, many seniors hesitate to speak up. They worry about being a burden, or worse, being pitied. I once spoke with Henry, who was 84. He told me something that stayed with me. He said, "I'd rather fall trying to do it myself than sit there waiting for someone to help." And while I admired his fierce independence, I also saw something deeper in his words. But as I listened to Henry, I also heard something else, the pain that so often hides beneath those words. Because asking for help shouldn't feel like surrendering a part of who you are. The real danger here isn't just about physical safety. It's about something far more profound, emotional well-being. When your needs are overlooked or your personal preferences are dismissed, it sends a message to your heart and mind, a quiet, persistent message that says, "You don't matter as much as you once did." And the more that message repeats, the deeper it sinks. Over time, it can lead to feelings of sadness, isolation, and even a noticeable decline in physical health. It's not just about dignity, it's about survival of the spirit. But here's something hopeful. Dignity isn't gone forever. It can be protected. It can even be rebuilt, but it requires intention. It starts with setting clear boundaries. Speak openly about your routines, your likes, and your dislikes, whether it's how you prefer your meals prepared, the time of day you like to rest, or the little rituals that bring you peace. These choices are far more than habits. They are the anchors of your identity. Be an active part of decisions that impact your life, whether it's about your healthcare, where you live, or even small daily activities. Your voice still matters, and you've spent a lifetime earning the right to be heard. And it's equally important for families to remember, caring for someone doesn't mean taking control. The best kind of care is the kind that preserves a person's dignity, not the kind that unintentionally erases it. And perhaps the most vital lesson of all, dignity always begins within. Take pride in what you can do, no matter how small it may seem. Whether it's reading a book, folding laundry, or sharing a favorite story with a grandchild, these actions carry meaning and value. Aging may change the things we're physically able to do, but it should never change the essence of who we are. You are still you, still wise, still valuable, still whole. Let's hold tightly to that truth, because in a world that often rushes past older adults, the quiet power of dignity is stronger and more necessary than most people realize. These fears often remain hidden behind gentle smiles and polite nods. But just because we don't always speak them aloud, doesn't mean they don't weigh heavily on our hearts. The 5 fears we've explored, being forgotten, losing purpose, becoming a burden, facing illness, and losing dignity, are not signs of weakness. They are proof that we are still alive, still feeling, still learning, and yes, still growing. Here's something people don't tell you often enough. Reaching your 80s doesn't mean you've stopped evolving. You are still allowed to want more respect, more connection, more understanding. And not only are you allowed to ask for it, you absolutely deserve it. So don't be afraid to speak your feelings out loud. Naming what's in your heart isn't complaining, it's being truthful. And when you're honest, something powerful happens. You give those around you the chance to love you better, to see you more clearly. You remind your family and friends that you're still right here, still thoughtful, still wise, still kind, and still filled with stories and lessons that truly matter. You've spent your life giving, raising children, building communities, working hard, and showing up for others. Now is the time to honor yourself with that same care and dedication. Let this video serve as a gentle reminder that you're not alone in these feelings. And even more importantly, you are not powerless in facing them. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you've learned from this video and how you plan to apply it to your life. Your thoughts mean a great deal to us, and we genuinely look forward to reading them. Your comments not only inspire us, but also motivate us to keep creating meaningful content. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us continue producing valuable content to both inform and uplift our community. Wishing you good health, happiness, and peace. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more.